morning. Welcome to another Sunday morning sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X. I am back with my fingers waggling in the camera. Alright, this morning I'm going to do one of my old favorites. As it turns out, the holidays are not as restful as they should be, and I've discovered I get very tired this time of year. I'm old, what can I say? So today, and I don't know if I'm going to get both, but I actually kind of like this image. I liked how in the 80s the Japanese used to kind of do these kind of crazy collages with faces and stuff. So I'm going to do Project A-ko today, and possibly next time. Let's see if I can do both of them. I might make this a two-parter, I don't know. For anyone who does not know Project A-ko, I do not blame you. It is not one of the more popular titles. I happen to love the heck out of it, but a lot of people don't. And their loss. So, what?
It's an older series. A lot of newer people don't know about it.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's actually got kind of a fun, crazy history. It's a short series of movies. I just love the fact that it's to my knowledge, it's one of the first anime series that made fun of anime, which was really, when I saw it when I was much younger, I laughed really, really, really hard, because finally the Japanese were really, really laughing at themselves, which was great. This particular case, which I might actually explain it, is there was a series, and I believe it's the same studio or the same people, I don't quite remember. But there was a TV series in Japan called Cream Lemon, and it was completely adult animation on television, which is not something Americans are remotely used to. So there was a lot of just really... I've seen a couple of them. Some of them are pretty obscene. One of which is square out, I believe, illegal here. Anyway... they had a tendency of doing all these kind of adult-oriented short stories. Some of them were comedy, some of them were straight-out erotic, blah, blah, blah. So what happened was I think that they were trying to do, if I recall correctly, a movie, and they put this thing together, and it ended up being so funny that the adult stuff just kept getting in the way. And so you end up with this movie that is, frankly, in this wonderful style that was usually only reserved for adult stuff, which it doesn't really look like it, but it is, which also kind of goes a long way to sort of explain sort of these weird, I don't want to say erotic moments, because that's actually completely wrong, but moments that are very lesbian, very strange, kind of very out of nowhere in it. But what you ended up with was this kind of wonderful satirical movie about, strangely enough, teenage girls in high school that are all cute and attractive and everything. And you end up instead with, sorry, talking and trying to draw at the same time. With these like really archetypal characters, which, you know, was not uncommon at the time in Cream Lemon, and, you know, they would kind of almost do, like one of them was very clearly, you know, a parody of the Dirty Pair in Cream Lemon. I mean, it was really, really, really obvious. And so what A-ko was very clearly a bunch of archetypes. A-ko was, you know, A-ko and her friend C-ko. It's actually what I loved in the humor is, the three main characters was A-ko, B-ko, and C-ko, and a fourth secondary character was named D. I mean, they so clearly were like, forget about it, it's a joke. I mean, so A-ko being the main character, and her best friend Seiko and her rival Biko, and Eiko and Seiko are new girls at this great school, and they kind of come in, and Biko ends up, for no logical reason, falling in love with Eiko's best friend Seiko, which is the most obnoxious character that they could have come up with. I'm going to zoom in here. And that's actually what I really enjoyed about the ridiculousness of it. Is there was like nothing attractive about Seiko. She was as obnoxious as humanly possible, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. So you had, actually, let me bring the picture back in. So you had Eiko and her rival Seiko, and Seiko has like an IQ of like 250 or something, and no logical way of handling her emotions and her desires, and instead of being a normal person, ends up, basically threatening and attacking them until she would somehow get the interest of Eiko's best friend Seiko, which usually involved creating large robots to attack Eiko, which fortunately, and if doesn't take much to spot it, which is kind of awesome, at the very end of the first movie, if you look carefully, as it turns out, Eiko's mom and dad is Wonder Woman and Superman. They basically didn't even hide it. They just stuck it on the screen without sticking. I mean, so Eiko has these redonkulous superpowers, which goes basically completely unexplained in the whole series, with the exception that her mom and dad is clearly Wonder Woman and Superman. I'm not making this up. This is literally in the movie. You just have to be paying attention. And it's just so. I mean, they weren't being deep at all. It was this action comedy that was really quite, wonderful. And I kind of grew up on that wacky zaniness. Didn't know at the time it was based off of an adult series, which, upon retrospect, it kind of made some sense. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of naughtiness in it, there was just... I just figured the Japanese were being Japanese for what was there, but they were... they were just having a lot of fun, which I thought was great. There we go. This time I'm not actually going to try to duplicate the style too much, because I'll be super, super honest. I love this style. This is so wonderfully abstract and crazy, and it's beautiful when it's animated. I have never, for some reason, been able to actually replicate it. There's something about the way the lines and everything goes together that's so abstract, which doesn't look like it at first glance, but is, that I actually have a very difficult time putting together. So I'm going to try to get close, but my feeling is here I'm just going to end up doing some interpreting, because it's a little difficult. But I'm going to see what I can to kind of at least get close. I'm not making any huge efforts at the moment, because honestly, it's been a bit of a month, and I'm just kind of wanting to doodle, so we're going to see where this goes. It's funny, a lot of people watch the movie Project Eiko, and they either just laugh their butt off, or they just start having serious issue with it. I don't understand why exactly, because I just think it's a ridiculous amount of, fun, personally. It's super silly. It's got great slapstick humor. It's actually got some of the best I've ever seen. For some bizarre reason, the Japanese stick to sort of a singular, I don't want to say they 100% across the board, but have a tendency to stick to the sort of a specific way of doing humor. Recently, which is funny. For some reason, the slapstick stuff that they used to do just sort of has gone to the wayside, sort of. Now, at least it's not done the way it really, really used to be. And I kind of missed that because there was some really funny bits in some of these older animated movies. Project A-ko was one of them where they just... Like there was the spy in the series called D. It's that fourth character in the letter series of names. Anyway, D, at the beginning of the story, you weren't entirely sure what was up with D, other than D was a spy and was trying to find something. And so you think he was trying to find A-ko for the longest time. So he's kind of spying on, which was awesome, girls going to school. And A-ko kept getting up late, and so she would grab C-ko, and they would just go freaking running. I mean, they literally used jetliner sounds as A-ko is running through the town, destroying homes, trying to get to school on time. And day after day, D just keeps getting trampled horrifically every single time, which initially just doesn't sound that funny, but they had some wonderful timing, and the animation was hilarious, and yeah, just overall very funny. I mean, they weren't going necessarily for clever. They were just being like, yeah, we're just gonna have fun. And so they would keep trampling this poor dude over and over, and then you find out this poor dude is actually an alien warrior woman, just a particularly, I don't want to use the word ugly, but not feminine. I would maybe handsome is the best way of putting it, kindly. Typically kind of unpleasant looking, though. Maybe even for a man. Think of sort of a burly lumberjack crossdresser, I think is the, wow, just a very, you're not used to seeing kind of character. But funny, because I liked D. I particularly loved D's voice act. It was clearly a big dude that was doing the voice. Which, hey, nothing as cross-dressers or anything. D was funny. I mean, it's the moment you actually found out D was an alien female was stunningly funny. I mean, it just was I would not use the word feast for the eyes. That is the wrong term, unless it was a rather unpleasant feast. That kind of a manly warrior space bikini thing was clearly there for laughs, I'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean, I guess there was a lot in A-ko that was just a ton of sort of cheap laughs, but it still ended up, like for example, there's this, and I think for, including myself early on, I didn't get it other than it was just funny. I didn't get the reference until later. There's a bit where A-ko and C-ko go out to the movies, and I didn't realize it was a parody from a movie called Harmageddon, which I've only seen once, and when I saw the scene I went, oh, they're parodying it. I didn't get it at the time, but it was still absolutely hilarious. Ignoring the fact it was a parody of a specific scene. They're in the theater, they're watching a movie, it was actually very nicely animated. This kid's going down an alleyway, and this dark, crazy figure comes out of the alley. In the original one, I believe it was a robot or something. Anyways, in Project A-ko, it was Colonel Sanders from KFC. And it was the most horrifying Colonel Sanders from KFC you can, I guess you could imagine a more terrifying one, but it was pretty dramatic and terrifying, which is wonderfully, I just almost crapped myself when I was a teenager, because I don't know how funny it was to the Japanese. It was very funny to me. It was very funny to see a terrifying Colonel Sanders coming out of the darkness, and the teenage girls in the theater just screaming at the horrific image of Colonel Sanders. It's just a funny movie. It's just ridiculously funny. And the later ones were good too, but I have a tendency of thinking that the first one was really kind of the purest version of it. The later ones had a bunch of really funny sequences in it too. Like in every single one, and I love this, aliens invade in every single freaking movie. And the humans' military keeps getting wiped out in every single movie. Until I think it was the third or fourth one where the military is so beaten they just go like, we're not going to defend the Earth, forget about it, we're staying home, which was really funny. And so, like, all the citizens have to get together to defend the Earth, and their command center was in a adult toy / pornography store. What was clearly the leader of the human defense, and you just end up the whole time going like, what is wrong with you? Just really, once again, I couldn't stop giggling. So silly. Not to say that there isn't any good anime right now that isn't funny too, but there was just something kind of special about Project Echo. Clearly because of, the age I was at and yada yada, but still, I still think it deserves some props, and some people for some reason just really don't like it. Which I thought was funny. I'm gonna get up. Oh, yep, sometimes I need to stand up so I'm not looking at it at an angle to kind of make some corrections here. I've had a couple of them where I stood up afterwards and was like, "Ooh, my bad, that don't look good." Okay, let me correct the shape of that skull a little bit. I kind of want to keep some of that, like, extreme angling there, because a little bit of that's in the original style. And must leave plenty of room for giant, marvelous, luxurious 80s anime hair. Little piece of me misses the Giganto hair from that time period. It was kind of awesome. All flowy and ridiculously massive. There's the rough of one head. We start in on the other. Think about it, maybe angle it a little differently than the original. Let me see, she needs to be about... thought so. Okay, right now I'm not worrying too much about making the image magnificent. I'm just roughing shapes in and trying to get the general layout and angles and such. Better. Yeah, they're roughly the same reality. Doesn't matter how well you draw an eye if it's sitting in the wrong spot. Or's the wrong size. Right, now that I've roughly got the general shape there. Just realized I hadn't moved my camera. Sorry about that. Okay. Definitely Sunday morning. Move this back a little bit. Not bad. Actually, a little better than I was expecting to do this morning. Yeah, not bad. Not bad for a sketch, anyway. All right. Thank you for joining me. It's another Sunday morning sketch out of the way. This one, I think, therapeutically did me very good. It did me gooder. Good did. Anywho, I had fun. So, everyone have a good week. In this case, have a good Christmas coming up here. And I will do my traditional put my toys away. Dilly bob. Alright, well, everyone have a good one. I will probably catch you next week. Maybe not. Anywho, see what the holiday does. Have a good one.